Keeping a close eye on your forecast, the summertime pattern is continuing across the Gulf Coast with more of those pop-up showers and storms beginning to make an appearance. I'll be breaking down all of your forecast details coming up.
And following the many No Kings protests across the state of Alabama, Democrats are split down the middle as they consider what that means for key voting events.
Now.
Good morning, everyone. You're watching Fox 10 Midday on your Wednesday. It's June 18th. I'm Ashley Mitchell.
And I'm Jennifer Lambert.
We have a lot to get to on the show today, but first, Jen, is it another roller coaster day of weather?
It really is.
Okay.
I know the summertime pattern continues, so that means that it's heat, humidity, and now some of those pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Taking a look at conditions across the southeast. Look at this. We start at 9, and then really things turn scattered out there. And we're not alone. It's really portions of Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, even Georgia getting in on it. So we're all stuck in the summertime pattern of the heat, the humidity, with more of those pop-up showers and thunderstorms. We're really turning scattered by this point. If you step outside, you look into the sky, you look in the distance, you'll likely see some of those tall clouds out there. That's going to be some of those cumulonimbus ones out there. You're likely hearing some of the rumbles of thunder. Even if you're not getting some of that rain just yet, you can look at the distance and just start to see some of those impacts to some of your neighboring areas. Looking in just a little bit further inland out there, south side of Franklin, starting to see some of those decent thunderstorms closer towards Monroe County, Sunflower into McIntosh, Choctaw Bluff, and Jackson. Also some of the moderate to heavy rain, more of that thunder and lightning ramping up. Mount Vernon just on the north side there, some more of those heavy showers. Salco down towards Satsuma and into Saraland, really starting to see some of those improvements along with over closer towards Chunchula. Baldwin County, Loxley, Robertsdale still pretty active. Pineville also seeing some of those showers and thunderstorms. And then on the Florida Panhandle, Crestview, this storm is looking less impressive. I'm seeing less of the lightning, more of that moderate instead of heavy rain. Bruton also still pretty active, along with Allentown and Munson. A live view outside from our Navigator Credit Union camera at the Battleship. We're looking closer towards Baldwin County, looking towards the eastern shore there. Gray, gloomy, overcast skies. You can just start to see where some of that rain is still falling out there. Good news, traffic moving smoothly on the Bayway and the Causeway, but it's hot out there. You're going to need that AC. Temperatures upper 80s, feeling more like 97. That's the trend out there. You can still just start to see some of those orange spots. That's where some of that rain is falling, helping to cool things down just a little bit. That's reflective with that Milton sensor. Many spots seeing the 80s. However, feeling warmer. Chatham, Leakesville, Pascagoula, Atmore, Molino, all feeling well into the triple digits. Look at West Mobile, feeling more like 87 out there. Still starting to see some cooler places courtesy of the rain coverage, but we'll continue to see more of that scattered look heading into this afternoon. By sunset, things begin to quiet down. I'm going to talk more about your forecast and what I'm tracking coming up in just a little bit. Ashlyn.
Jen, thank you. First at 11, President Donald Trump is now seriously weighing U.S. military action inside Iran, while the country's supreme leader says his nation will not surrender. Fox's Rebecca Castor is on the ground tracking the latest developments in Washington.
More airstrikes overnight and into this morning as Israel continues its mission to wipe out Iran's nuclear program.
Israel is doing what the entire world said they would do. They would stop Iran from having this weapon.
But to finish the job, the Israelis might need help from the United States. One of Iran's key nuclear facilities is buried deep inside a mountain, and Israel doesn't have the firepower needed to destroy it. But the U.S. could use its B-2s and bunker buster bombs to take it out.
You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do.
President Trump has two words for Iran: unconditional surrender.
That means I've had it.
But Iran's supreme leader says that's not going to happen and warns the U.S. entering into this war is 100% to its own detriment. The damage it will suffer will be far greater than any harm that Iran may encounter. On Capitol Hill, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth would not comment on any potential U.S. action.
My question for you is whether you have been asked actively to provide options for the president regarding a strike in the Middle East.
If I had or I had not, I wouldn't disclose that in this forum, Senator.
The U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem is now working on evacuation flights and cruise ship departures for Americans who need help leaving Israel. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
And as the Trump administration continues its crackdown on undocumented migrants, several Democratic leaders are pushing back. After a week of protests, President Trump is focusing on undocumented migrants in U.S. major cities like Chicago and New York. In the meantime, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass lifted the week-long curfew in downtown Los Angeles. She maintains deploying the National Guard and Marines was unnecessary and blames the president for creating a culture of fear.
We don't want them here. They don't need to be here. Our local law enforcement have complete control of the situation.
Right now, a federal appeals court is considering President Trump's deployment of the troops. Another hearing is set for this Friday. In the meantime, a federal agency says President Trump's domestic spending bill could set the country back by trillions of dollars over the next decade. That's all according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, which released its analysis yesterday. The bill cuts taxes and pays for it partially through cuts to programs like Medicaid and food stamps. But another component of funding is predicted to raise the national debt. $3.4 trillion would be added to the debt overall when likely interest rate hikes are factored in. That figure also includes the 0.5% the economy is forecast to expand over the decade, adjusting for that inflation. In Alabama now, the many No Kings protests all over the state is drawing attention towards a possible win for Democrats in key elections. Listen to this. The chair of the Alabama Democratic Party, Randy Kelly, believes streets across Alabama lined with protesters are a sign of something much more. He says time may be running out on Republican lawmakers in Alabama, and he thinks voter concerns with the Trump administration leaves the door open for a Democrat to win a big state election. Former Alabama U.S. Congressman and Democrat Parker Griffith, though, disagrees.
The short, true answer is no. The National Party has basically written Alabama off. They choose places to spend their money where it's most effective. And it's certainly not effective in Alabama because we lack leadership and we lack unity.
They're much more massive now than they were in the beginning. The protests started small, but now the protest is getting bigger and bigger. So I think a lot of these people have woke up.
The last Democrat to win the seat Griffith held was Doug Jones in 2018. Kelly says there will be some who will never vote blue, while Griffith says his party has become too focused on what he calls fringe issues or social issues. He says state party leaders must broaden their scope to once again see a victory on the horizon. Meanwhile, Alabama is expected to receive as much as $75 million over the next 15 years from a settlement with Purdue Pharma, who's accused of fueling the largest drug crisis in the nation's history. In 2017, Alabama created the Oversight Commission on Alabama Opioid Settlements, which helps distribute those funds. While it hasn't yet been announced where the money from the Purdue settlement will go, past settlements have been split between state and local governments. Kim Boswell with ADPH says they've received funds from 3 previous opioid settlements so far. That money was given to recovery centers, churches, and nonprofits. And these are the groups and organizations with boots on the ground helping people recover from addiction. Boswell says that's the heart behind the settlements, getting people healed and preventing future addicts.
The campaign Opioid Takes really does a good job of talking about, yes, you can take an opioid, but here are all the things that an opioid is going to take from you. And it's really, really important for people to understand that once you're on that path, then you're at risk of losing your family, losing your job, and losing your life.
According to the AG's office, Alabama has obtained settlements committing nearly $730 million in funds from companies that helped fuel that opioid epidemic. New on Midday this morning, breast cancer screening is going to get a lot cheaper for Florida state employees. Florida lawmakers say this is just the first step to lowering costs for everyone across the state. Breast cancer is the second most common cancer for women, and studies show early detection and treatment saves lives. Right now, women covered by the Florida State Employee Health Plan don't pay anything for mammograms. Then starting in January, that is expanded to medically necessary diagnostic and supplemental breast imaging, like MRIs and ultrasounds, based on risk factors or medical history. This is expected to cost Florida $3.6 million. The bill's sponsor says this is an important first step to covering these tests for all women in the state.
People sometimes need to wait because they don't have that money. They don't follow up as quickly, or sometimes they don't even follow up at all. And by the time they get diagnosed, it's much further along. And we all know that early treatment and detection is the key for breast cancer.
The new law takes effect on January 1st. Well, also this morning, Florida is cracking down on those trying to block immigration enforcement across the state. Attorney General James Othmeyer says the state is putting more resources toward the effort. Florida Highway Patrol will be in direct contact with agents who had their private information leaked online. Troopers will also do welfare checks when needed.
Intimidating, threatening, and distracting them from their duties. We're not going to tolerate that in Florida. That is illegal in Florida. If we find you doing that, we will hold you accountable.
Attorney General Othmeyer also warned any rioting in Florida won't be tolerated. So far, all protests have been peaceful across the entire state. And breaking news this morning out of Mobile, one person was killed in a crash on Interstate 10 eastbound. That's near exit 15B in the Tillman's Corner area. It all happened around 7:45 this morning. We're told the crash involved two vehicles. Right now, authorities are not releasing any other information until the family has been notified. But once we learn more, we'll be sure to update you here on Fox 10 News. Well, still more to come on Fox 10 midday. And when we return, a new report is out about a possible connection between microplastics and certain diseases. Also this morning, a new trend is emerging. Parents are allowing their children to rot for the summer. We'll explain. But first, let's check in with Jen. Speaking of the summer, it's another summer day.
Oh, that is exactly right, Ashlyn. It is hot, toasty, humid out there and tracking some storms. Still some nice conditions, however, down on Dauphin Island. We're seeing some sunshine, a few folks getting out there and enjoying it. Nice little breeze so far for today, but the temperatures will begin warming up heading into the rest of this afternoon. Even hotter by this weekend. I'll be breaking down more of those details coming up when we come back.
Welcome back into Fox 10 Midday. A new study shows a possible connection between microplastics and risk for diseases like type 2 diabetes and stroke. The study was published Wednesday in the Journal of the American Heart Association. Researchers looked at microplastic measurements taken between 2015 and 2020, focusing on U.S. counties within 200 miles of the Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, and, listen to this, the Gulf. They then compared the prevalence of disease in those counties, adjusting for risk factors like age, access to medical care, and socioeconomic status. The study showed those who lived in areas with deeper concentrations of microplastics had a higher risk of type 2 diabetes, stroke, and coronary artery disease. The lead author says while the study measured microplastic levels in ocean water, microplastics are truly everywhere in drinking water, the air, our food supply, especially our seafood. Well, the summer school break is officially underway, but instead of spending a fortune on camp, Fox's Jessica Formoso shows us how some parents are opting to let their kids rot for the summer.
With summer break just around the corner, many parents are finalizing their kids' summer plans if they haven't already. But what if you made no plans for them?
It's not good. I mean, they should have something to do, but it's a little difficult.
Difficult, stressful, and costly for many families. And for those reasons, some parents are going old school and allowing their kids to do nothing this summer. No structure, no schedules.
I want to go to the beach.
Beach, play outdoors, read a book, watch TV, be bored. Why not? Call it wild summer or kid rotting.
I feel like it's kind of like fun because like you don't really get to be like bossed around anymore because every day like kids go to school.
For many families, it has become the norm that once school is out, the very next day camp starts. But with the high price tag of sending kids to camp, families have decided to leave the stress behind and just go with the flow. Clinical psychologist Tasha Brown says no summer plans takes the stress away from both the parent and the child.
For some kids, the camp experience can be extremely anxiety provoking. So much so that starting in mid-April, a lot of my clinical work is helping kids to prepare for camp in terms of managing their social anxiety, the anxiety about being away from home.
But for some families, childcare is the biggest issue, and having the kids enrolled in some type of program is the only way for them to be able to go to work. And then there are parents who believe in structure.
I had my daughter in camp. I always wanted her to be busy and learning new things.
And while the summer does provide a really great opportunity for kids to be exposed to new opportunities, it also provides the opportunity for them to have a little bit of a downtime, spend time with their families, spend time with their friends, explore new interests, learn new things on their own.
So bottom line, maybe kid rotting isn't so bad after all. In Forest Hills, I'm Jessica Formoso, Fox 5 News.
And hey, I always stick with the attitude, you know what's best for your family and your kids, so do what's best for you. And hey, maybe it's heading on out towards the beach today. Take a look at this view. It is stunning down in Pensacola Beach. We're taking a look further off towards the west from the pier there. It's stunning. A lot of folks getting out and enjoying it despite some of the rough surf. Still some vibrant and clear water. Can't quite see any jellies out there, but I know that they're in full force, seeing quite a few purple flags out there to start off with for this morning. But hey, the water feels great, especially in comparison to the temperatures. We are resting in the mid to upper 80s out there in both Pensacola and Gulf Shores. Winds a little bit on the breezy side out of the south, but the dew points mid 70s. We have an abundance of Gulf moisture beginning to move in, increasing the humidity out there. So it feels like temperatures 10 degrees warmer in Gulf Shores, feeling more like 98, feeling more like 93 in Pensacola. But as we do get further along to the rest of today, those temperatures continuing to tick up, really maxing out mid to upper 80s, possibly some 90s out there. Feels like temperatures even higher, mid to upper 90s. But as we've been tracking for this morning, many spots already feeling well over 100 degrees. Timing things out on our Futurecast. Futurecast, it struggles just a little bit. Doesn't like our summertime pattern when it's not an organized front coming in. So it has the placement for some of the big storms out there, not so much the isolated showers. So don't pay too close attention to the placement of this. It's mainly going to be the timing, because main takeaway, we turn much more scattered heading into this afternoon. So more of those heavy downpours, frequent lightning, gusty winds possible than any of those storms. Really going to be dependent upon your location, looking to be a bit more quiet closer towards the immediate coastline. And then we get further along into the afternoon. Once we reach that peak heating of the day closer towards 3:30, after that we have that downward trend of seeing some of that rain coverage. Because we're getting closer towards sunset, we're losing that daytime heating, which is the fuel behind these storms. So really, once that sun sets, that's when we turn quiet. Now, there's still the potential for a very isolated storm overnight, but the rain chances go down incredibly in comparison to this afternoon. Now, it only continues. It's summertime. We might as well just stick around with the umbrella, the rain jacket in the car. Here's the good news. By the time we get closer towards Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the rain chances go down in comparison to what we're seeing out there. But there's always that trade-off. Rain chances go down, temperatures go up. It's going to be hot and toasty by the time we get closer towards the weekend. So just stay hydrated. Keep that in mind for any outdoor plans. Evening practices heading into tonight. There's that trend that once we get closer towards sunset, the rain chances gradually drop off. Still going to be hot. Still going to be very humid out there. Stay hydrated. As we just saw down at our local beaches, still a little bit of that rough surf, moderate rip currents for today and tomorrow. Hopeful for some better water conditions once we make it closer towards Friday into Sunday when it drops to low. But I did go ahead, check in on some of those beaches, mainly seeing the yellow flags all across our area, along with purple flags signifying those jellyfish. And then checking in on the tropics. Things are quiet. I love it. It's June 18th. Hurricane season does go until November 30th. No new tropical development anticipated over the next 7 days in the Atlantic, Gulf, and Caribbean. As always, we'll keep you updated. Be careful what you see on social media. Over the next 7 days, here's that summertime pattern continuing. I mentioned the trade-off. Those temperatures tick up by Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll be maxing out lower to mid-90s, above average. That continues into next week. I'll talk more about your forecast coming up in just a little bit. More Fox 10 midday is on the way. A little bit of a gloomy look with some rain showers off to the right side of your camera there from our Navigator Credit Union camera. We'll be right back after this.
On Fox 10 Midday, Tyler Perry is being sued by an actor for sexual harassment and assault allegations. People magazine says Derek Dixon accused Perry of creating a, quote, coercive dynamic while he was starring on Perry's shows The Oval and Ruthless. Dixon says he met Perry back in 2019 before starring on his shows. He says Perry promised him career advancement and opportunities, but subjected him to harassment, assault, and battery. Dixon said he suffered from depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress following the alleged incidents. An attorney for Perry called the claims fabricated, adding that he's confident the case will fail. Dixon is requesting a jury trial and damages of $260 million. Well, this week at the movies, audiences can return to the world created by the horror classic 28 Days Later with 28 Years Later. We spoke with Oscar-winning director Danny Boyle and Oscar-nominated writer Alex Garland about reuniting to keep telling their story. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
Moving up and down again.
Director Danny Boyle and writer Alex Garland reunite for 28 Years Later, a new chapter in the horror saga they started with 2002's 28 Days Later, starring Cillian Murphy.
The time we've taken to make this sequel, and also the time indicated in the title, is hugely influential on the way that film manifests itself. We wanted to make a highly original film if we could. We understood we were indebted to the first film, and we acknowledged that. And there is a character that will reappear in the rest of the trilogy, who is from that film, and everybody's waiting for him, and he's an executive producer on this film. But it was the time passage and what that had done to the people that we meet.
The film kicks off a trilogy.
The first film is complete, and you can experience the first film on its own, and the second film will be as well, but it will inherit characters and some geography from the first film as well.
They've seen how audiences' expectations have evolved with the genre.
Did that become a great challenge to take on just as the bar keeps getting raised?
Definitely. I think broadly, audiences are always getting more and more sophisticated. It's true in visual effects. However, I would say that for a long time, it was not true with story. So I would say story and themes and characters were more complex, more morally ambiguous in the 1970s than they became post-2000. I believe the audiences are becoming more bored with some of the formulaic narratives and are looking to be surprised by other sorts of movies.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
All right, in our next half hour of Fox 10 Midday, making sure your finances can last all the way through retirement. You'll want to stick around for that story. Plus, how the rain and wind is causing trees to fall on homes and what you can do about it. But first, Jen, any rain out there right now?
We are tracking some of those showers and those storms mainly impacting our inland counties at this time. But as we do take a live view outside in downtown Mobile, looking at Government Street, traffic moving smoothly in and out of Bankhead Tunnel. Some clouds on the horizon there over Baldwin County. Temperatures toasty where you're seeing some sun, feeling more like 97. I'll talk more about your forecast coming up.
Committed to you. This is Fox 10 Midday.
Time 11:31 on your Wednesday now. While the world's attention is held by the fighting in the Middle East, the war in Ukraine grinds on with a massive Russian airstrike on the Ukrainian capital. At least 28 people are dead. The Russians used more than 500 drones and missiles during the attack, striking 27 areas in and around Kyiv, prompting strong criticism from the Trump administration. This came just hours after President Trump left the G7 summit early to manage the situation in the Mideast. Ukraine was expected to be a major focus for world leaders, but now it's been pushed to the sidelines, leading Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to say the diplomatic effort is, quote, in crisis.
We are ready for the peace negotiations, unconditional ceasefire. I think it's very important, but for this we need pressure.
At the same time, Russia continues to claim it's ready for ceasefire talks despite the escalation in fighting. And Russia is about to get more help from a new friend, North Korea, saying they're going to send thousands of military construction workers to the front lines. Well, it's been a stormy week all across the Gulf Coast, and all of that rain and wind has really saturated the trees and the ground beneath them. Experts are sending out a warning now about root rot. So in case you don't know what this is, root rot is a plant disease where a plant's roots decay due to several factors like watering and poor drainage, which in trees can lead them to be unstable and fall on your home if you don't take the necessary precaution. The owner of a tree service recommends that homeowners check their property to see if any trees need to be taken down or pruned.
It's not worth the consequences if something goes the wrong way. What could go wrong is that tree could end up go ahead and falling through the house, and if one of my employees were on it, or if it caught that boom the wrong way, it could be deadly.
Some important reminders there for sure. Now, storms are expected to continue the rest of the week, so if you do have trees in your yard, it's a great idea to get those inspected.
Taking another look at your forecast and take a look at that. So we're looking down in Fairhope, that cloud beginning to move in, casting some shade out there for some of those workers. But if you look out in the distance, you can start to see some of those showers just falling closer towards the central part of Mobile Bay out there. So really, it's going to be dependent upon your location for today because it's scattered with these showers and storms. Maybe you're hearing some of those rumbles of thunder, mainly seeing the majority of that activity taking place closer towards Clark County, moving into Monroe County, but still some of that also taking place on the Florida Panhandle and Baldwin counties. Taking a look further inland, here's where I'm seeing the most active portion because the majority of Clark County is seeing some sort of rain shower or thunderstorm out there. Choctaw Bluff down into Tensas, near McIntosh, some heavy rain, some of that lightning really ramping up. Coffeyville, Thomasville, Grove Hill also experiencing some of those showers and thunderstorms. Franklin a little soggy and stormy at this time. Mobile County, very isolated. It's just going to be closer towards Union Church, just on the west side there of Dawes, that we're starting to see some of that heavy rain, more of that thunder and lightning beginning to ramp up. This is going to continue to push further off towards the north there. We'll keep a close eye on that storm. Just some sprinkles closer towards Saraland and Baldwin County on the north side of Loxley there, south side of Stapleton. Starting to see some of those showers extending into Gateswood. Pretty active near McDavid, Chumuckla, and up towards Century. Heavy rain near Pineville, along with a lot of that thunder and lightning taking place. And then near Allentown, also starting to see some of those storms. Timing things out in our Futurecast. Again, not too close don't pay too close attention to the placement out there, because look at Clark County. It has us dry right now. It's mainly just the timing that we want to pay attention to at this Futurecast, and really take away that we will start to see more of this rain coverage picking up heading into the early part of this afternoon. But look at that. We get past the peak daytime heating for today. Things begin to fizzle out. We turn a lot more isolated. And then once that sun sets, the rain coverage begins to drop off. Before that, though, heavy downpours, frequent lightning, gusty winds still possible within any of these storms. Forecasted daytime highs mid to upper 80s, possibly some 90s out there. But take the humidity into account, feeling much warmer, more like the mid to upper 90s. And we've already been seeing some of those triple digits out there. It's hot, it's toasty, it's humid. Stay hydrated. Only expecting this to go up once we get closer towards the weekend, feeling well into the triple digits by that point, possibly even 100 to 105. Get creative with ways to cool down heading into this weekend. Ordering one of the inflatable pools, playing in a sprinkler. It's going to be a great option for the kiddos. Rip current risk moderate for today and tomorrow, but in case you want to head on out towards the beach this weekend, it's looking great out there. Water temperatures, they're warming up. They are resting in the mid 80s right now, but hopeful we'll still have some of those low rip current risks heading into Saturday and Sunday. Summertime pattern continues here on the Gulf Coast. We go from near average to above average with our daytime highs, with no end in sight heading into midweek next week. I'll talk more about your forecast coming up in just a little bit. Ashlyn.
All right, thanks, Jen. According to the Social Security Administration, you can start receiving Social Security retirement benefits as early as age 62. But how many Americans are truly financially ready to retire? And this Watching Your Wallet, consumer investigator Carice Jackman sits down with a well-known financial advisor who says retirement, as we know it, is due for a major shift.
Rick Edelman, co-founder of Edelman Financial Engines, strongly believes retirement as we know it will look very different over the next few decades. The reason? People are living longer.
In 1900, the average American had a life expectancy of 47. Today, life expectancy at birth is 86, and it's growing year by year. If you're going to retire at 65 and be alive to 105, how economically are you going to support yourself? It's not realistic.
So if you are, for instance, on Social Security right now, say you're in your 70s and you're on Social Security and you're worried about keeping your finances in check, especially in the climate that we're in right now, what do you do?
When I say you're going to keep working into your 70s and 80s and 90s, it's not going to be that 9-to-5 job. Instead, you're going to be engaging in the gig economy, where you're going to work 5 or 10 hours a week at something you really enjoy doing, virtually a hobby, except that you're going to make money while doing it. And it'll be enough extra income to supplement your Social Security.
And for baby boomers in particular, he has this message.
You've gotten through the effort of raising a family. Kids are gone, they're grown, they're on their own. And for the first time in your life, you have time and flexibility. Wow, what are you going to do with all that?
With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Carice Jackman.
All right, listen to this. The city of Birmingham is one of 4 finalists to host the U.S. Olympic gymnastics team trials ahead of the 2028 Olympic Games, which will be held in Los Angeles that year. Officials said Birmingham is getting support from the city, county, and state in the effort to host the trials. Along with the team trials, the package would also include hosting the USA Gymnastics Championships, the Gymnastics for All Gym Fest, and the USA Gymnastics National Congress and Trade Show. Lots of events happening there. USA Gymnastics calls all of these events 2028 Gymnastics City USA, and Birmingham city officials say Legacy Arena and the entertainment and hotels in the area were part of the attraction.
Looking at the facility that we have, the demographics, the size of our community, how we respond to big events historically, I think all that added up is going to put Birmingham in the winner's circle for this very prestigious event.
Still no word on when a choice for the host city will be made. When we come back on Fox 10 Midday, an update to the oyster restoration project we told you about and how the weather can impact your appetite. Stay with us. We have all that and more coming up. You're watching Fox 10 Midday. Welcome back in. As summer continues to heat up, health experts are sharing insight on how the hot weather might impact your appetite. Experts say you might feel less hungry when it's really hot outside because of something that's called the thermic effect of food. Another reason you might feel less hungry during the summer may be because of higher levels of activity or even a big one, dehydration. The opposite occurs in the winter, though, when it's really cold outside. Our bodies crave more food in order to stay warm. Experts say if you notice any major changes in your appetite, to contact your medical professional. In the meantime, scientists on the Gulf Coast hope they're one step closer to finding a new way to rebuild the coast oyster industry. Scientists with the Calumet Foundation, along with several private and public partners, spread oyster larvae on recycled shells in Ocean Springs. The shells were placed at the Shearwater Reef, not far from the harbor. We're told this method of seeding oyster beds is called direct set, meaning the larva is placed after the shells are in the water instead of a lab. If the pilot project works, those behind it say it'll be a game changer for rebuilding coastal reefs.
We will have sampling time points to come out here and figure out the density of the oyster spat, and then as they grow they become seed and then adults. And not only will this form oyster reefs, which will help with the oyster production, but oyster reefs are also home to many economically and recreationally important species here.
This is the first direct setting project to take place in the Gulf. A similar project in Maryland is showing positive results. In today's segment of Very Vanessa, she got to experience the Middle Ages by visiting a blacksmith, which is pretty interesting. Take a look.
I am at the Blacksmith Experience. I am joined by the owner, Jerry Gardner. Okay, Jerry, what are we making today?
So today we are going to be making a Fredericks cross out of mild steel using an induction forge. And so what I'm going to go ahead and have you do is go ahead and put that steel inside these coils. Okay. And those coils, once you push that button, is actually going to start heating up the steel using really kind of like heavy duty magnetism, much like your microwave. But what's really cool about this, no pun intended, is that it keeps the heat way down, so we're able to keep the shop doors closed, the air conditioning going, and be able to forge some hot steel. That's perfect if you want to go ahead and pull on out.
Wow.
We're going to come over here to the hot cut, and I'll go ahead. Perfect. And the Fredericks Cross is pretty amazing. So we start off with a piece of steel. We make a few cuts, and as we start heating that up, we start to kind of start pulling away at the cuts, and it's sort of, I like to say, kind of like fillets open into a beautiful little cross that we'll begin to see here more in just a second.
Wow, that is so nice. While you're doing that, one of your other classes is knife making,
Yes.
right?
Oh, by far, the knife making is definitely our most popular class, and we use that in a lot of different ways. We have shorter experiences that last about 4 hours. We do that in forms of date nights, which is a lot of fun. Definitely most popular class. We do it in team building events with different companies, individuals, that just give you a chance to kind of see what knife making is all about.
Yeah, and Justin right now is just kind of polishing those off, right?
Yes, in fact,
Finishing
he's
up.
got a knife here for one of our longer all-day forge classes that we're putting the finishing touches on. And this one right here is an example of what we call our knife making experience class that we use for date nights and a lot of other classes as well.
Wow.
So,
Well, I can
yeah.
definitely see this cross coming together. Let's talk about a nonprofit that you have.
Yes, so we have a nonprofit that we use knife making and blacksmithing as a way to serve veterans, law enforcement, first responders. And so that's just been a really cool passion project of mine for the last few years.
Wow, that is amazing for sure. I'm sure a lot of people participate in that.
We do. We have a lot of guys that come. Primarily, we have some ladies as well,
Yeah.
but it's an amazing program.
Okay, this completed already?
Yes, it is.
Nice. Okay, so what's the
Almost.
step after this?
Yeah, so what we would need to do is obviously you can see that's a little bit kind of off center,
Yeah.
and so we would clean that up. We have some different hammers that we can put some texture on, and then after we do that, we clean it up, and then we're going to put some beeswax, which is a traditional way of finishing steel to help kind of make it a little bit of a rust inhibiting coat, and then we'll drill a hole and then have something to hang or something. Some people even wear them, so it's a little big. But
Such a unique class, Jerry. Justin, thank you for this. Thank you for this
Absolutely.
class. Something obviously unique to do around here. So thank you again. And of course, guys, we're going to do the finishing touches off camera, but such a fun class to participate in. Thanks
Thank you,
again.
Vanessa. Yeah.
All right, Vanessa, thank you. I'm loving all the segments she's been doing lately, just hidden gems all across the community. Jen, did you know that this one existed? The
I did
Blacksmith
not.
Shop.
I didn't. I always get those vibes with like Renaissance festivals. They do some reenactments here at some of the forts, but the fact that you get to do it hands-on.
Pretty cool. I feel like there are a lot of people that would enjoy that.
Absolutely. Team bonding, bachelor trip even. So something to keep
Love
in
it.
mind right here on the Gulf Coast. Let's go ahead and talk more about your forecast. And it's a great time to go ahead, download the Fox 10 weather app. That way you're staying updated with the forecast. Especially one thing that's really relevant to us right now is the push alert notifications. I've been mentioning this the past few days because it's great because it'll send you a push alert directly to your watch, your phone. It'll let you know, hey, there's lightning, there's heavy rain close to you. It's on the way. That way you know if you need to head out the door right now, catch it in your car before it makes your way closer towards you or bring something inside. I was just looking at this too, and I was seeing that there is a very isolated lightning strike over Mobile Bay. So anticipating some storms to pop up there here soon. But let's go ahead and take a look down on the other side of our viewing area, making our way into southern Baldwin County. Beautiful down in Orange Beach. Quite a few waves breaking further offshore, but we checked in on Pensacola earlier and it's still vibrant. It's clear. It looks nice. Still a little rough out there. Those winds breezy out of the south. This will continue over the next few days. I'm also noticing all the people out there too. This crowd has been growing and it's hot. It's toasty. Temperatures upper 80s, feeling like 98, but the water temperature, it's resting in the mid 80s. So it's still a little more refreshing, but it is beginning to tick up. As we time things out in our futurecast, more of this rain coverage will begin to pick up heading into this afternoon. Again, timing, not placement. That's our summertime pattern. Futurecast models just don't really like it that much. But once we reach the peak heating of the day closer towards 3/3:30, after that, that's when the rain chances begin to turn much more isolated because they lose the daytime heating. Will turn more quiet heading into tonight. I'll have a final look at your forecast coming up in just a little bit. Right now, a live view outside down on Dauphin Island. Stunning out there. We'll be back after this.
You know, Alabama ranks 48th in the country for average credit scores. Yeah, that's according to new data from Experian. Now, the average FICO score in Alabama is 692, while the national average is only a 715. This data is forcing people to ask, is a perfect credit score even worth it? Financial experts are talking about it. Take a listen.
Having a high credit score is incredibly important.
850, the highest credit score you can get.
Having a perfect credit score is not all that important.
Matt Schultz, Chief Consumer Finance Analyst at LendingTree, says lenders typically group scores above 780 into the same top-tier range, usually offering the same terms.
It becomes more of a vanity thing to a degree, but in terms of really moving the needle financially, it's not that significant of an upgrade.
But those 3 digits still matter.
Generally speaking, people with higher credit scores get treated better. They're more likely to get loans for better rates. They're more likely to have lower insurance premiums. They're more likely to get the apartment that they're looking for.
But even with a high credit score, don't expect pre-pandemic rates.
We're just in a space now where there just really aren't that many low interest rates.
Still, shop around and ask which bureaus your potential lender uses.
Making sure that your information is reported to all of them is the best way to make sure that you're having the biggest impact possible.
All right, some good reminders and advice there. Jen, my parents really drilled into me 750 was a good credit score. That number stuck with me over time.
That number's
750.
Exactly. So do whatever is best for you, but some great tips to keep in mind there. But let's go ahead and talk more about our forecast heading into today. Temperatures going to be maxing out mid to upper 80s, possibly some 90s out there. Feels like temperatures mid to upper 90s, some triple digits, already seeing some of those. A reminder of our Futurecast is pretty scattered out there. Futurecast struggles. It does not like the summertime pattern setup. But once we get further along into the rest of today, more of that scattered look will continue. It's really after 3/3:30 that we start to see some of that coverage go down because we reach our daytime heating. That's the fuel behind some of these storms. So as we approach closer towards sunset, they're losing some of that fuel. So they're starting just to fizzle out, turning much more isolated. Some of those storms today still could pack a punch. Heavy downpours, frequent lightning, gusty winds will turn quiet heading into the overnight hours. Still a stray storm can't be ruled out, but pattern continues here on the Gulf Coast. Rain chances every single day. I know, we're over it, but keep the rain gear handy. We will start to see some improvements by the weekend, but those temperatures are the trade-off. They go up, will be above average, with that continuing heading into midweek next week. So heat, humidity, toasty heading into Saturday and Sunday.
Jen, this is the only time of the year where I'm like, should we just move back to the Midwest?
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? I'm sitting outside, I'm thinking Missouri is hot, but it's not like this.
All you gotta do, you just gotta head on down towards the beach or look at the live cam, and then I'm reminded, yep,
there you go.
I'm in the
That's
right
why
place.
we're here. I had a river growing up.
Yeah,
so
there
that's
you go.
Perfect. Thanks for watching Fox
There you go.
10
Take a
Midday.
live view outside.
All right, it's beautiful out there. We'll see you at 3 o'clock.